Kona Moku, so I'd say, we're holding our meeting. Before we go on, we're going to pull it.
I'd like to say aloha to everybody. My name is Kani Teralde, Vili Kaue Laulii, and I want to mahalo everybody for coming. Yeah. Thank you guys for being here. We have a lot to talk about. We have a lot to learn. Everyone have to take it to heart, yeah, what we're doing over here. We need to know that we, Kanaka, yeah, Kiki o Kaaina, we speak when we need to speak. So I want to welcome everybody as we bow our heads in prayer. Aloha Kamakua, our Heavenly Father, we ask Thee to be here with us in your, bring your presence upon us. We ask Thee to bless each and every one of us that come here from far and near. We ask Thee to keep the air clear. Bless those who not with us. Bless those who on the way. We ask Thee to forgive those who have offended others in any way. We ask Thee to come and be with us as we have our meeting here for our kupuna, for our people of the land, for our keiki of the land. As we come here today, we gather for open minds and open hearts as we discuss what needs to be said. We ask Thee to be here in your presence. In your precious name, aloha kamakua ki keiki ame. Kauhani hemalele. Amen. Amen. Amen.
Okay, I want to introduce Uncle Tommy Hashimoto. He's our poor Limana, DLNR, Uncle Les from Maui.
Hello, Mike Ako. I just wanted to thank on behalf of the chair for the Ahamoko, Hawaii. I was chosen to be the po'o for all the islands, and it's going to be very trying. I am the po'o that will speak for the island of Kanaloa, Kaho'olawe. We're coming out from the Ahupua'a, the Moku Hono'ula, Pili Molokini, Pili Kaho'olawe. That's how we picked the old way of picking a po'o there. And the reason why I'm the po'o over there is not because many of our families from Honolulu came from Kauai, the big island, and all over. They shared Kaho'olawe Kanaloa in the early days. My tutu Avaloa was called the Kaho'olawe man. So using that, it's important that as chair, we familiarize you with us in our journey, this ba'a. Mano ka'ani po, thank you for so much for showing up here. And thank you for the puli. Thank you so much. Because the puli is so important for all of us. I just wanted to tell you, puli for us, as we, hey, like the fish, when hey, everybody together. So that we can reach the different ahupua'as. Then Mana will be explained. So that we can study how we're going to work it out and with forgiveness. We thank Billy for taking the role tonight, for lifting up this new ahupua'a that now I can hold my hair on my feet. I never know you supposed to have so much mokus. My wife is from Kauai. She been hala 1978. So I have Ohana here in Kekaha. Yeah, Kekaha. I'm not going to tell the name yet, okay? But we are related in many ways. So kuku us as we try our best. And I think kuku or puli for Billy, because Billy will be part of the training program. We're all going to be training ourselves, learning from down come up. And kuku us, we like to build a ship. So I thank you for the chair, thank you for the Maha, and put for all of us as we take care of our different mokus. Try to reach our ahupo'a and the families of this place, the ohanas from this place, the families from the ahupo'a. That's deep. Maikai, and the communities. We thank this Harley. Oh boy, I was looking for one bar inside here. Yeah. But no, but thank you for the Harley for so that in this space we're being loved. Thank you folks for having that chair speak. Maha.
Okay, I want to introduce Lemana, Lemati. She's on a DRNO board.
Aloha, and thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to explain what the Aha Moku is.
Come on, wait on, we can't hear you.
Can I hear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Come over here more.
Yeah, you're gonna have to speak
Over here,
louder.
okay.
We got a lot of people
Okay.
wanting to hear. Yeah, come up
Okay,
there,
speak
loud.
up. My name is Leimana Damate. My maiden name is Kinney. My ancestors are from Moku Okeawe, where I'm from. I live in Ka'u, in the Ahupua'a of Kahuku, Moku of Ka'u, Moku Puni, Moku Okeawe, island of Hawaii. And we've been together working on finding a process where we can assist the state. The Aha Moku is attached to DLNR, but we don't answer to them. Okay, it's the only unique agency, a unique entity in the state of Hawaii. So I'm going to get right into the presentation to show you what Aha Moku is and how it was created to empower the people of an ahupua'a on the best way to deal with their resources. So if you cannot hear, I'll try to speak really loud, okay? But we're pretty easy. We don't, Aha Moku doesn't have meetings like the state. We follow out, we talk, you know, if you have questions during the presentation, call it out, okay? So that one of us will answer. Okay, started.
There's this screen, which is like, is that like the PowerPoint you handed out? Is this what
Yes.
you're going through? So the
Yes.
colored pages we got handed out?
This is a
That's what she's
PowerPoint
going to do.
that you have, okay?
Thanks.
So the first question that always comes out is why an Aha Moku? In about 2004, when DLNR was starting to put together all the marine conservation districts in the state of Hawaii, Puna came forward very upset because a marine conservation district is where no access, you cannot take. But they were being put where the traditional ko'a were. You see that and so the Hawaiians couldn't go and fish and gather, but tourists could go in there and trample all the limo beds and everything else. So kupuna from the 8 islands got together and decided to find a process where the people would be empowered. And that's what this is, okay? And that's a specific reason why Aha Moku does not answer to the state. The governor does not pick who the po'o are, the people do. They give the names to the governor and he appoints them because you have to be part of the state structure if you're going to have any kind of say in what happens, okay? There are over almost 200 kupuna that got together. And this was really historic because they were lawai'a, fishermen, mahi'ai, farmers, la'aulapa'au, people who worked in medicine, hula, chanters, all of the different practices that make up the Hawaiian culture, okay? all of them. And they were respected kupuna from each of the islands. Uncle Tommy and Uncle Les were part of the first group. Billy, these are the ones that actually wrote the act that you picked up, Act 288. So the mana'o you're going to see tonight is very deep. The Aha Moku structure is a restoration of a land and ocean management system from the 9th century, from the time before Pa'au, from the time before the Tahitians got here. Because we went back, Kupuna said we had to go back to a time where the focus was sustainability of a resource. In other words, to survive, you had to take care of your kaukau. To do that, you had to take care of the land, the watershed, the ocean, the fresh water. Everything was interconnected. Okay. So the Aha Moku system was created through Act 288. We have a copy of that act. When you have a chance to read through it, the words in that act came directly from kupuna, from practitioners, from experts in the different disciplines. It was signed into law by Governor Abercrombie in July 9, 2012. It established the Aha Moku Advisory Committee within the DLNR. The advisory committee is comprised of a representative of each of the 8 main Hawaiian islands. Okay. And they put the definition of the Aha Moku system. It was completed. Now when you look through the act, you will see the definition of the Aha Moku is not defined. That was done purposely because every island is different. Sometimes moku are different. And so how can you put an overall law that impacts everybody when everybody is so different? It's up to the moku and the ahupua'a of each place to define what that system is and how it works for them. Okay. I wanted to show you the picture. This picture is actually came out of the vision of John Ka'imikawa, who is a noted historian from Molokai and Oahu. And he translated an ancient prophecy that said the Lepopopolo was going to rise to prominence on the crest of a wave. What he meant is that the maka'ainana, the common people, the regular people, are going to bring forward, they're going to be able to participate in bringing the environment into balance. That's what that meant. So this right here is Ku'ula, the sea god, rising from the depths of the ocean, holding a vana, sea urchin, in its hand. The vana represents the truth of the Hawaiian people because of the tongues in them. Okay? The opihi right here represents how Hawaiians are pa'a. They stick to the truth of their culture. Even though it differs from ahupua'a to ahupua'a, they stick to that. That's what makes Hawaii unique. Okay. The 2 fish that you see here, the opelo and the aku, represents the dry and wet season of a Hawaiian calendar. And that's important because Hawaiians practice sustainability by their seasons. You don't have a marine conservation district and lock it all up. You have a balance. You kapu certain species for a certain amount of time, and then you restore it so that you always have, okay? Okay, the moon is in Makali'i. What you see over here, you can't see it really good, but that's Makali'i representing Makahiki, the time of sustainability. It's nighttime because Hawaiians practiced according to a lunar calendar. It was from dusk to dawn, okay? And the moon represents your amakua. This is represents how, this is very important because to the Hawaiian culture, the spirituality, the connection between the ocean, the land, and the Hawaiian cannot ever be broken. You cannot take it. You cannot separate the two, no matter what. They're symbiotic. So, you take the culture away from the Hawaiian people, the race is dying. They have to stay connected. And the culture translates to resources. That's what culture is to a Hawaiian. It's what you see, what you feel, what you hear. It's what you survive on. That's the culture. So this is the model, or the logo really, for the Aha Moku. I'm explaining, all the Hawaiians in here know what this is. I'm explaining the kauna of what this is all about, the deepness of it. Okay. So the purpose of Act 288, the Aha Moku Bill, was to formally recognize the Aha Moku system, that very system that is not defined in the Act, but is dependent on the people of a place, okay? They established the Aha Moku Advisory Committee within the DLNR, and that was because all the legislators couldn't see themselves dealing with over 567 Aha Moku'a in the state. They needed to be able to come to one group of people. So you can see how challenging that was, because that one group of people would be the ones, like our uncles here, that would be advising, but they only advise on the strength of an Ahupua'a. Okay? We advise the chairperson of the Board of Land and Natural Resources and the legislature, and we are also working with OHA. Okay, so that collaboration helps to make sure that the environment and the ecosystem of each area is held. So we can advise on issues related to land and natural resources management throughout the system. Okay? The legislature, these are their words, to integrate the Native Hawaiian cultural and traditional values into the fabric of state policy. That means we're into the regulatory policy. Okay. So even though Aha Moku is an advisory committee, when we go through to see what the mandates are, you're going to see it's a little bit more than that. So there are 6 areas that the Aha Moku can advise on, and I picked these pictures about Maha ulepu because that's what this meeting is about. Okay. But these 6 mandates are what you need to look at when you start working with all of this. The first one is integrating Native Hawaiian resource management practices with Western practices in each moku. This one was a little bit difficult for the Hawaiian people to really get their heads around, because many wanted to stay with the traditional methods. But in contemporary Hawaii today, the reality is that we need to collaborate, okay, to a certain extent. A lot of the resources are no longer there, especially on Oahu. It's almost zip over there. Okay, so that one, each group, each Ahupua'a will have to start to lomi that to see how they can do it. Identify a comprehensive set of Native Hawaiian practices for natural resource management. Again, this is very difficult because ohana are not going to tell people what their practices are, that they've held and protected for generations. It depends on the strength of the Ahupua'a, see? The third one is to foster understanding and practical use of Native Hawaiian resource expertise. A lot of kupuna are now coming forward to talk about what their practices are. And it's very simply because in today's world, they would rather tell their mo'opuna, their grandchildren, a practice instead of telling them a memory. Part of my family on Oahu is from Waikiki, from before any visitors, sorry, got there. My grandmother would tell stories of throwing net and going outside right off of Waikiki, where the walls and all the dredge places are now, where there would be balls of manini that are big as a house, and all the people would go and take only from the outside, just what they could eat, because there always was plenty. Waikiki is gone now. Waikiki is, it's not the Waikiki that we know, that we knew. The people have moved out. It's a jungle now. Cannot let that happen here. Cannot let that happen here, okay? So, it's just to make people understand that why they have to take care of the resources. The fourth one, now get this one. Sustaining the state's marine, land, cultural, agricultural, and natural resources. That's what DLNR is supposed to do. You see? But we get to do it. So this gives our people a chance in the Ahupua'a, and I'm talking about the communities of an Ahupua'a, a chance to tell the state how it should be sustained, how it should be used. Okay. Providing community education. People need to know, and they need to know both sides of a story on how something has to be used. What is going to be the best way to utilize a piece of land? You know, I know there's a big controversy about the dairy, but now is the time to vala'au, to talk to people about the pros and the cons. You're gonna need to come together somehow anyway. Aha Moku will not take a position on that, okay? What we will do is help you organize your ahupua'a so the people can make those decisions. And then to foster cultural awareness on the benefits of the Aha Moku system. The real benefit is that your children and grandchildren are going to be enjoying the same thing that you're enjoying right now. My grandchildren are still hunting in Waimea on Hawaii Island, where my other side of the family is, and that my grandparents did, you know? So it's a sustainability thing. And then we're supposed to protect and conserve state's natural resources. Communities have to do that because it's a community's kuleana. The last thing that the seventh mandate, this is the closest that we got to an Aha Moku system, was to develop an administrative structure that oversees the system. To do that, our 8 islands created a strategic plan. We had the copies out there. The strategic plan outlines the history of Aha Moku, how it was formed, why it was formed. It lists a plan for utilizing the traditional resource management in putting that into existing DLNR practices and rules. And we're slowly doing that. We're slowly doing that. It outlines the structure of the Aha Moku process. I'll go into that a little deeper in a minute. That structure is really, really important because it sets up how the ahupua'a operates and how everything stems from that, and describes the process and how to do it. One of the ways to do it is a communications reporting form, and I put a copy of that outside. What that is if you have an issue on a specific site-specific in the ahupua'a, you go to your representative, but you write it down, and it asks for what the issue is, how it impacts the resource, culturally and natural resources, but it also asks for solutions, so it's not just complaining about something. It asks you to offer some kind of way that you think would best fit in working it out. That's why you need to organize it up in Kua, so the community can be a part of this, okay? DLNR is really happy with this. They're working closer with people now than they have before. So it seems to be working, okay? So, the Aha Moku system is site-specific. What works in Ka'u, where I live, is never gonna work over here in Kauai, ever. You know, it's community-based resource management, it's grassroots. It uses empirical knowledge and methodology of that place, generational knowledge. It's based on proven observational processes. This one sentence was really important to the University of Hawaii, educators, and other scientists, because observational process is what was responsible for the sustainability of your land and your ocean, your watersheds, you see. And when I even had a scientist ask me, say there's no such thing as Hawaiian science. And I said, I was taught that science is based on observation. And the more observation and the more you can work on something, the more it becomes a reality. The Hawaiian culture is full of observation. I'll just give you one quick example. In 2002, a Japanese scientist at the University of Hawaii made the discovery that there was another current that went from Hawaii out to halfway, almost to Japan, okay, almost to Japan. And he was amazed to know that Hawaiians, you know, everybody knows about the hokulea, right? Well, Hawaiians traveled the other way, and they did it based, oops, sorry. They did it based on Hawaiian science, which was the current that ran that way was 5 degrees warmer than the rest of the ocean. And they could tell from the taste of the water, from the shape of the clouds, from the wind patterns, how far out they were and how to get back, because they knew the weights of each island extended that far out. That was based on observation. Hawaiian science and Western science are comparable, okay? And it's based on nature, it's based on common sense, it's based on how you problem-solving strategies. Okay, what you have in your handouts also is the AMAC submittals to the Board of Land and Natural Resources in 2014. And I just finished the legislative report, and it was taken and given to all of the legislators. What this is that the Act calls for the Aha Moku to advise the board. So this was the submittals that we passed in based on information that was given to us. And if you read it, you'll see that it's never written by one person. It's on behalf of, and that the community has to approve it. And the first one was for Lanai, you know, that was just to lease the small boat harbor. The one I wanted to bring your attention to was a sublease under the general lease to the University of Hawaii in Manoa. This was in opposition to the telescopes up there. And what the University of Hawaii did is they petitioned the board, the Land and Natural Resources, for a 65-year lease gratis. They didn't even want to pay the $1 a year, you know. So the people's recommendation was that, one, they could not approve this unless they had a decommission plan. What are they going to do with all of those telescopes when it's all over? And then they wanted them to pay a fair market value, you know, rental for the top of the mountain. All of those foreign countries pay the university millions and millions and millions of dollars, and none of it gets down to the people. So they wanted to collect a fair market value rent and then divide it up into the 5F lands, which are the 5 different ways that the public general funds go to the Department of Ag, Department of Education, OHA, Native Hawaiians get 20%. So everybody in the state would benefit from that. This next one, and I'm not sure if this Grove Farm Fish and Poi lessee is the same as the one here, but
Same company, it's a different price.
okay, same company with different, okay, what they did is that these are the people that built the fish cages off of Eva, okay? And unfortunately, they could not make it a goal, even though the Eva Moku people told them that it wasn't going to work where they had it. So they declared bankruptcy and they left. What they didn't do is they had 4 ballasts on the bottom of the ocean. They had petitioned the board for a mutual termination, which would mean that DLNR would take equal responsibility for removing those 4 ballasts. Those ballasts each weighed over 20,000 pounds and they were down 110 feet. To remove them would be extremely difficult. The reasoning that the Ewa Moku people said is that take your opala out of our ocean when you pau using it. Don't leave your rubbish behind, you know. And DLNR approved that petition because they didn't have the funds to pull it out, and it became, the justification is that it became an artificial reef and that it would help the environment. That's what their justification was. We did not agree with it, but they did, the board did approve that. Then the last one, a statewide programmatic agreement for traditional fish pond systems in Hawaii. To date, there are 40 listed traditional Hawaiian fish ponds in the state. Now we know there's way more than that, but the state only identified 40. Out of the 40, only 2 had permits because the overlapping jurisdiction to get a permit was so overwhelming. You got the Army Corps, you got the feds, you got county restrictions, Board of Health restrictions, you got all of this. Hawaiians just said, oh, the hell with it, you know, they just went on and continued doing their fish ponds. So rather than fighting them all the time, the state got together and created a one-stop. So the people of Hawaii were, the different islands were responsible for that. So now you just go to DLNR, to the Office of Conservation, and you fill out one permit, and they do all the running around, and they get all the rest of it. And then you can restore your fish pond, maintain it. So this was the main act that, the main issue in the Aha Moku Act that we were required to do. What came out in the past 2 years is that we realized there's so many things that are never going to get to the board. So the different moku and the different ahupua'a from the different islands started sending us stuff through their po'o, and I would take it to the divisions to see, what are you guys doing? You know, are you doing anything about this issue? Are you, where's your status on it? And because we are an actual law, they paid attention. So on this side, these are the issues with the different islands. These are, oops, sorry. These are the actual divisions that are working on it. Now this is just a small part. The bigger list is in the handout that you got in the legislative report, okay? I sent this out to every single legislature. The POA instructed us to make sure that all the legislators, the county councils, everybody knows what the people are doing. So that's what this is. The only, in the Dairyland issue, the only thing that DLNR is into right now is a State Historic Preservation Division, as I'm sure you guys all know. And the rest of the divisions are standing by to see what happens. with how it goes. It hasn't been ready yet to go to the state division, that's what I was told yesterday. So, just Shifty is the only one working right now. Okay. You know, this Lehua rat eradication thing too, this is finally coming to a close. The Division of Forestry and Wildlife dropped a rat pesticide on Ni'ihau, well, on Lehua Island, right off of Ni'ihau in 2009. A big storm came in right after that, and all of a sudden, all the fish were dead in front of Ni'ihau. When the Ni'ihau people complained about this, and you guys remember Ile, Kanemi? Okay, Ile was the Kiole, or the Po'o for Ni'ihau at the time. It was blamed on the military. And finally, they wanted to do it again this year, but it's different now. Because now, because of the Aha Moku, Ni'ihau people came into Oahu, they were brought into Oahu, where the DLNR Invasive Species Division said, okay, we want to show you how successful it was on the little islands right outside of Oahu. And they did it there, and they said it was successful. Well, you know, I had to say, hey, wait. What is that doing to the current and the fish of Oahu? You can't just go ahead and do stuff like that without the people knowing. And so slowly things are starting to change. It's getting there, not there yet. Okay, I'm rushing through this a little bit so that Billy can get to the other part of this. This is the actual structure of the Aha Moku system. It's like an inverted pyramid. People are at the top, not the bottom, okay? All of these little circles here represents a separate ahupua'a within a moku. You guys saw the map over there of Kauai and the different moku in there? And you see how many ahupua'a are within that moku? Each ahupua'a is based on geographic boundaries. And that makes a difference in how the resource is protected, sustained, and used. So, the ahupua'a, the communities of an ahupua'a get together, and at a community meeting, they select a representative for that ahupua'a. Okay. That representative has to be an expert, or at least have knowledge of the resource of that specific place. Those are representatives of all of the ahupua'a. So in the Kona Moku here, it would be all the different ahupua'a that have to be organized. And their representatives pit among themselves the Moku representative. That's what Billy is right now. Uncle Les, Tommy, Billy, all of us were put into place interim until the people could get this process done, okay? Okay, then the Moku, over here you have, what, 5 Moku, yeah? 5. Okay, then the representatives, the 5 Moku representatives get together. Again now, you're talking about somebody who has empirical, generational knowledge of a resource. Not necessarily Hawaiian. We have people who are Moku records who are not Hawaiian, but they have the knowledge that the communities accept to take care of that resource. They decide and pick the poll. That's this bottom tier, and that's the board, that's the commission that is appointed by the governor. The Moku people, after consulting with all their people, decide who's going to sit on that council. They send a name to the governor, and that's who the governor appoints. So it's not the normal kind of political appointment. It's an appointment that's based in the culture. It's based in the culture.
Okay. I have a question. So for tier 1, at the very
Yeah.
grassroots level,
Yeah.
the ahupua'a representative is selected not by the advisory
No.
council.
No.
It's it's just the majority consensus vote at a
Right.
community meeting?
Right.
So-
The whole point of Aha Moku was to empower the people. And so you cannot empower a community when you decide on another island who your leader is going to be. You see what I'm saying? So this is a difference between, this is why Aha Moku is so unique. Because under this, and I say under because this is the lowest on the totem pole, is the staff, which is right now, due to budget restraints of the legislature, is only one, just me, on the very bottom of the totem pole. In other words, we don't make decisions for an ahupua'a, the people do.
The people of that
Of
ahupua'a.
that, okay, here's an example. Okay, somebody, I'm just gonna pick, okay, so somebody from North Korea, okay, comes in with millions of dollars and wants to develop a place in, let's use Halilea, okay? We use a different moku from here. They want to develop and build a big resort or whatever it is. And so they think it's business as usual, so they'll first come to me and say, we want a permit, we want your support. I'll say, okay, I will call Uncle Tommy. He's the po'o of that island. Wait, Halilea is not a good one. We gotta use Mana, because Uncle Tommy's from Halilea. He knows it's not his moku, he will call Kane. Kane doesn't come from the ahupua'a where this one resort is going to be. He will call the ahupua'a representative, who will call a community meeting of that ahupua'a to discuss the issue and see what the people want to do. When these people go to get their permits, you know, if we know it's coming, then we can at least stall it until the developer can get into place with that ahupua'a and they can work with the people. This has worked. On Hawaii Island this happened. And what the hotel there did, and this was in Ka'u, what they did is that the people identified wahi pano. The people said no dredging. And what the hotel did is that they put an educational signage so that their guests and tourists would start to understand and appreciate the people of that place more. This works because the statistics from the Hawaii Tourism Authority, the most people that come to Hawaii, you know our economy is built on tourism, right? Come not for the ocean and the climate, they can get it cheaper in Mexico. They come for the culture. They come so that they can be part of the culture. Teddy.
Just taking Melissa's question further.
Okay.
Office of Land Affairs, your island representative is elected by everybody in the state.
Yes.
So even though we have somebody that we like, we always need to vote.
Yes.
So
Yes.
how does that work with the Ahupua'a? If you're not from that Ahupua'a, you can elect somebody to be the representative there. It's kind of a,
No, cannot.
so you have to be from that Ahupua'a.
You have to be from the
I
ahupua'a.
wonder if that Ahupua'a has nobody that lives there.
Then you talk to the people who have family connections or who know the resources. That's when you start to work with the communities, the neighboring communities, like Nepali. Okay, Nepali doesn't have anyone living there now, but you have families who are familiar with the resources there and the places there, and that's where they come into play, the kalana, yeah. So it's, you know, it's something that is so old, but it's new. And so people have to get used to the idea, first of all, that the advisory committee, the commission, doesn't have the power, okay? The people from the place have the ultimate say. To make it work, we have to make sure that we don't undermine our Moku reps or our Ahupua. Okay, so that once they say they're gonna do something, then trust that the community, this is to give the power back to the people. So,
So you have criteria.
yes,
You have a criteria that has to be followed for people who want to be the Moku for that, the rep for the
yep,
Ahupua.
and that brings
And they
me,
have to meet the criteria.
they should, but again, you gotta look at the community. Okay, so this isn't carved in stone now, it's a living, breathing system. The community has to be the ones that decide ultimately, but it is based on the criteria of Native Hawaiian methodology, traditional methodology, because they know the resource best, they've been here the longest, that's why. So now we're getting back down to why we're here tonight. The Ahupua Council Organization, the first thing, call a community meeting, that's what this is, okay? Identify the experts in Native Hawaiian resources with generational knowledge of that place, okay, that place. Then you organize your community. It might take more than one meeting, but at least you have a way to go. You identify your resource concerns of that Ahupua that impacts that community. But most of all, you focus on the foundation, which is the sustainability of an ecosystem. Remember, you want to tell your grandchildren, your mo'opuna, that what you're enjoying right now will move on, hundreds of years into the future. Okay, this is the eligibility criteria for an Ahupua representative. You have to have generational or empirical knowledge of that place. And Ahupua's boundaries are geographical. That was done for a reason. So you either have valleys or you have rivers or streams that define your boundaries. Okay? This is the other important thing, you need to balance the needs and desires of the community with what is known about the resource. Sometimes people leave an area, but they have the most knowledge of the area. And when they come home, they share that knowledge, see? The person has to have excellence in knowledge and excellence in service, because those are cultural values. You're never gonna find a konohiki who does not put his people first and yet serves them at the same time. Okay, now, these are the 5 core values that would make the criteria for an Ahupua representative. This came from the collective knowledge of the kupuna. Remember I told you there are almost 200 kupuna from the 8 islands that got together to do this? This came from them. So this is a combination of 8 islands, okay? Uncle Tommy, Les, Billy had a lot to do with it too. So you malama ya Ahupua, you know and care for the entire thing, from the watershed, from the sky, from the clouds, all the way down to the deep ocean. You understand how it's all interrelated. And if something happens on Mauka, if you destroy a piece of land way on the top in the watershed, you know it's going to impact your spawning and your fish. You see, because this is all related to survival and food. So you have to have that knowledge. Ike Hanalna. Generational knowledge of fishing, farming, land, water, ocean use. Every single discipline in the Hawaiian culture is connected to the land or the ocean. Every single one. Religion, chanting, all of it. So you have to know some kind of methodology that's based on the traditional Ahupua system. The old-time families of each of these Ahupua still exist, and they know this. They have to have knowledge of the importance of the spiritual connection between the community and the people and the land and the resource. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a Hawaiian. I know people who are not Hawaiian, who have that deep spiritual connection to the land and the ocean. And that's what you know, I mean, everybody's a stakeholder. Everybody has to take care of the land. You have to know how to respectfully communicate with wisdom among your constituents, your community, your fellow Ahupua'a representatives, and the government. That's hard to do, you know, but people who are connected the way this says you should be to the land and the ocean can do that because they're humble enough to do it and they're wise enough to know that to get people to believe in what you're doing, you need to be able to communicate with them. And finally, it's a kuleana. It has to be sanctioned by the community. So somebody can't just step in and say, I want to be the representative. The community decides. They have to have that respect from the community that allows them to be the kind of leader a community will need to protect that land. Okay, the second thing that's important besides eligibility is a code of conduct. And the code of conduct are site-specific for that ahupua'a, and the people determine what that code is. That's why I didn't put it down. I mean, this is really what it is. They feel it, they create it. You don't maha'oi in somebody else's place. You ask permission first, you know? The community decides on how it should be. And they demonstrate that knowledge of the resource and environment is necessary for sustainability. So, how do you establish a code of conduct? Because this has been brought up. You identify the important resources and you prioritize it. We don't have konohiki anymore, you know, so the community has to take that place. They have to identify the resources. And it's not only in the ocean. It's a whole entire ahupua'a because what happens here impacts here and vice versa. So you take care of your watershed. You make sure that it's sustained, that it's in balance. I tell you, Hawaiians knew to hunt a certain species, whether it's a pua'a or whatever, at a certain time, and they were the best conservation people that there ever was. Because they want to make sure that they have food forever and ever and ever. You learn and share your information. It's established by consensus with the community. And then you write it down, or your ahupua'a representative writes it down, because you have to take it out to your community and share it. You have to take it to your schools. You have to take it to the keiki. It pulls the community closer together. When a community is tight like that, and they make a decision on a resource, I promise you, the state of Hawaii and the departments are going to listen. Because your legislators are involved. Your county council people are involved. And they need, their main function is to work for the people. The second main function is to make sure they get reelected. They're going to listen, okay? Okay, so that was it. And Billy is now going to go on further with the agenda, the ahupua'a. Unless there's any questions on the presentation, my contact information is there. I'm accessible 7 days a week, you know. I'm usually at the office at 5 in the morning every day because that's when kupuna want to talk. They get up early. So, you know, you do what your kupuna needs that done. Okay, so there's no other questions. Oh, Teddy.
Are we recording this? You have a secretary that's going to transcribe it and get the minutes out to us?
Yes.
I
Yes.
left that up to Billy, but,
We have-
okay.
So they're taking the notes right now and
Yeah.
Okay. I've asked that. What we're doing is, when I get the notes, like I did this last one, I send it out to every single person who signed in on that sign-in sheet. Okay, so that we try really hard to be as transparent as possible. And because that's the only way this is gonna work. And so, believe me, Kupuna have called and given me good scolding, you know, at times. I can take the scolding because you learn from the scoldings, you know. And then there are other times when Kupuna will come up and give me a hug, and then I'm thinking, oh my God, what a great day. Because that hug has to be earned, see. So, if there are no other questions, I'm going to turn this over. Really?
I can go on this one.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Right now, we're gonna select Lemona.
Yes.
You want us to take a break and select and then vote?
Maybe what you should do is take a 5-10 minute break.
Right.
Everybody who belongs or lives or has info or is connected to Maha ulepu.
Mahalapu.
Mahalapu.
Right now, we're looking for a
Okay.
representative.
I'm trying.
Is a
Okay, I'll be
directional.
here.
Ule is to fall.
You know,
Yes.
okay, this system you guys get, yeah? Is it modernized or is it the old way?
It's the old
It's the old way.
It's the
Okay,
old
so I thought the old way, everything comes spiritual when you pick somebody. On a
Yes.
vision. So
Yes.
with all you guys kupunas here, you know, I respect. I know because when something good comes, coming on vision and get love, you know, so I get yung mana. You know?
That's right.
So when you guys select here, is, you know,
You may not.
somebody giving the,
It depends.
You know?
Western integrated.
It is.
It depends.
you know.
We
I
gotta
mean,
get the
you know,
money.
it's just fair for the Ana Hawaii and the Ana Hawaii and the Ana Hawaii.
Of that ahupo'a, you mean?
It's just the generation, you know, when you feel your ancestors, when you feel your mana from where you from, you know, it's the selection, right? And just to the land right now, you know, yeah, this situation you guys are with, get all different landowners, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You get rules you guys gotta follow, and gotta get things you guys gotta work out. For be pono, you know? You know what I mean?
You have to talk to the people,
Yeah.
definitely.
So I just say,
You know, it
That's
has
all.
to be that way,
yeah,
but
yeah.
you're right.
You know, laws, like, you know, there's no law, you know, you guys get laws, you gotta follow, you know?
This is a living law, that's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
difference.
yeah, but you know, but just say, putting it in that type of way, you know, like just,
Yeah,
you know, that situation. You know.
that might work here, maybe that's what you need to do, you know? It would depend.
So I just, you know, before, you
Wait,
know.
he can explain to you,
Okay.
talking about
Wait.
Kanaka.
Kalamai,
Teddy had a question.
yeah, question.
I've been talking with Lemana since I got this notice. I understand concern in Maha ulepu, and I understand that it has to be discussed. But to discuss it in a place like this, to me, is definitely not cool.
I agree.
We have neutral places in Koloa, neighborhood center, cafeteria, and library. And we're here at the house of people, and to all the respect to Jay and Eileen that had this opposition to Maha ulepu, this is not a place that everybody feels comfortable in. And we should be in a neutral setting. Before anything more, we can talk about Maha ulepu all you like today. But anything that has to do with getting a Moku or a representative, this is not the venue for it. Absolutely. And we've had guys, I mean, in the government agree with this.
Okay, okay.
So, would I do the break and
Well,
go to the?
why don't you guys take a 5-minute break?
We'll take a
It's really
5-minute
intense.
break and we
And
gotta
then everybody come back.
come back.
And come-
Lina Miki Aloha Oi.
This is Blanche Shimafani.
Yeah, well, I was once in the Shimofinic family, also the Brandt family, the Konats, the Hearts of Waimea. I have 6 lines of Moku Auho, including that here of this Moku of Koloa and of Maha Ulepu. My legal name and my hereditary name given to me by my kupuna kuakahi, a name that, if you know the language, it denotes simply my place in my mo'opua house. The name that my kupuna gave to me was Kalani Kumai Kamaka Uli Uli, o na ali'i hano hano. I was a kamali'i that was cast away. I was the hiapo in 5 generations here in Koloa. But because of a contentious early marriage, I was abandoned at a young age, and I grew up in America. I left here in 1961. I came back in 1989. One of my kupuna and one of my teachers and mentors was Pila Kikuchi, who helped me reconnect with my heritage at Maha Ulepu and here in Koloa. Another was Donald Kaloluna. I'd like to begin, if you will please indulge me, with a little 7-minute presentation that I made on behalf of Maha Ulepu, and I have the translations here in English. Can somebody do this flash? Ekamai lemana.
Lemana.
Lemana. Ekamai. Piki hokopa ani ame. Ne ia. Hai. I was with, well, I'm one of the charter board members of Malama Maha Ulepu, which we reorganized as a 501c3 in 2000. Before that, I was involved as a member with the Haupu Ridge Association, trying to prevent the blinking red light of a tower up on top of the mountain upon the ridge, which has been held sacred for many, many, many generations. The yes video, final copy. Yeah. Francis Fraser did the English introduction to this. Can you do a little volume?
Oh, if I knew I would have got my speakers. This is as loud as it goes.
Do you have a Bluetooth connection?
I mean,
I have a Bluetooth speaker here.
oh,
Is that Bluetooth?
you know how to do this? Okay, okay. Can you, I don't know how to do that. Here, you can sit right here.
I'm introducing,
Computer illiterate.
if this doesn't work well.
No, no, she knows how to do
Okay.
this.
Yes.
Get unlocked in pairing mode. Waiting for the device to connect. Get unlocked there.
Yes. Let's stop it right there if it's not going, and I'll continue it. The color mine. In English, it is Haupu, supernatural guardian of Ko'i, mountain outstanding in the calm, domain of the multitude of gods, mausoleum of ancestral bones of those fallen together. Ku supreme, we summon your protection for this land, which is e hau putupu atua I otawa I maona tio ana I talai au puni ana tini atua I rino na I vitupuna Maha Ulepu e tunu e atea tapa tapa mako I tō mamaro no ti I aina o hina laulina taula O ta lino ha a mihiti lina ki he o ma o a ona I ta mohti hana e uro tu o hia lata e taumaha e mako ne ia lata o ta puli I taita e uro tini o te atua I te o lela, which is Hina of the depths of the sea, dressed and adorned beautifully in green finery, redolent of mokihana. Gather, come, ku, an offering we make to Laka of the strong prayers. Gather, come, you multitude of gods suspended in the heights. Ike o lela. Mai ke hikina, ike pomohana, mai ke akao I ka hema, mai ka langi no a ka honua, ke ka ho'okuhi a me I ka halawai, e nā kua I o ka po, a me nā kua kia I ke ao, e nā ao makua, mai ka pa'u I luna I ka pa'a I lalo, from the east to the west, from the north to the south, from the heavens to the earth, from the zenith to the horizon, guardians of the night, guardians of the light, guardians of the firmament above and of the firmament below. To the clutch of familiar winds here, the fragrant greeting of Puna, the misty showers of Haupu, the serene trade wind of Koloa, and the upland going wind. I ka upu o ka makani kamaena ma'ane, I ka ala oli o Puna. Na ulo o Haupu, ka malanai o Koloa, a me ka ailoa ke lele mauka. Ke kolo ne mako, I ka hui malama maha ulepu, a ime iki ko oko ho'opo maitai I ta ho'apono no ke kipa a malama ne I ke ia lahi pana. Our caretaking of Maha Ulepu group approaches seeking your blessing and approval to visit and care for this legendary place. E ia ko mako ho'okupu li'i ka vai e oloa e aloha ke kani ke leo kani e makapa'akai no ke ho'oko ho'apo ano ai. Here's our little offering, the water of life. Our interaction sounding a voice and salt for your taste. Greetings. Enlighten us and inspire our thoughts so that we can increase the understanding that this is a sacred place to care for, respect and preserve for future generations. Reveal to us what righteousness demands. E ho'o na ao yamato a ho'o vehi mai ko mako mana'o ke hiki mako ke ho'o makawa na unuhi ana he wahi ia ike ia no ke malanga ne ana iho no ka pono no na hana una e hua I amato I ka mea kupono I ko'i ia mai ne. O tutu ene I te ahi ho'o man honua e hua I amato e ke kua mo'o o ke ho'o mapopo aku I ke ano kupono I hiki mako ke ho'o mo'o ia. We recognize, O Goddess Healer, guide the travelers who have lost the way. That's Pele's sister. Tutu ene te ahi ho'o ma honua. Who restores the fire of the earth. Healer, guide to travelers who have lost the way. Reveal to us the way to demonstrate the proper example so that we may follow it. Ke iki mako ke aina mana ke ia. Ka po nui ho'o lako ke ao nui ho'o hema. E ia ko mako ka hea na kapa o mamalu no Maha Ulepu. Mai ka po mai ka oia io ki kani ne ka palana. We recognize that this is a spiritual land here, the great night of the gods that provides, the great day man that neglects, which is the reference to the dream. Here is our call to summon protection for Maha Ulepu. Truth is revealed from the gods. The offering is sung. Thank you for your attention for this. I was introduced to Maha ulepu by my grandfather, Carl Maku Uli Okalani Kumai Shimofenik Jr., the first, my grandfather, who took me to Maha ulepu when I was 10 years old. It was a place that was not visited much then. Bones would come out during the storms. If people didn't have a reason to go there, they didn't. I lived right around the corner here. Me and my neighbor, Alohalani Boido, would take our bikes and go out all day long out trying to get out to Keoniloa. We never made it that far. But I left when I was 11 years old, and the image of Haupu was burned into my eyes. Everywhere I went in the Americas and I saw a beautiful landscape or a place in the mountains or in the woods, and I'd be struck, oh. And then Haupu, a sudden recollection, would come to me of the mountain. My great-great-great-grandfather, Nakapa'ahu Ka'ilipoloa Hilani, was the last elite nui of the Koloa Moku. His sister Napihe had the Makawele district. They were first cousins to the Kamehamehas through their mother's half-sister, Keopualani. Mika, the Konahiki of Koloa, who was also the tax collector and the first lay teacher at San Rafael School, granted Nakapahu a 9.5-acre parcel in Hidden Valley, where he established his lo'i, and he lived for the last 32 years of his life taking care of his daughter. At that time, there were 300 acres of lo'i, of kalo, growing in Maha ulepu Valley. The soil there is precious. The clay, water-holding, gray hydromorphic soil that Donald Cataluna lectured me on, that he learned about from his kumu, is the best soil there is for growing kalo. I was raised on kalo from haloa from our lo'i here in Maulili, and in those days, the infants who died a year or less without being given names were buried in the lo'i. So when I was fed poi until I was 7 years old, I was also fed the DNA of my ancestors. My bones speak to me strongly. People look at me, they say, "Hey, Branch, I know your family. I know you talk Hawaiian. You speak nice Hawaiian. I don't know what you say, but it sounds nice. But Branch, you don't look Hawaiian." I say, "Camouflage. There's more of us out here." I took the name Branch Harmony. Allegorically, Hawaiians like to make Kona. Branch is Manaleolani, a adorned branch of a chiefly family. Also, it relates to unadulterated pure water that percolates up through limestone. Branch water, you've heard of Bergen and Branch. And harmony is lokahi, which is not only harmony, but it's unity. And harmony comes out of unity. I could spend my time sitting and watching cartoons and moaning about my leg, but I keep active. I'm a makiai. I have my garden. I believe in acting, thinking globally and acting locally. First is my home and my kihutai, my garden, our hui hanai ka honoala'a, which we practice the ho'opu lo'oloho hale, our purification ceremony that I've been practicing since 1971. Next is my aina. Maha ulepu is where I find my solace and I seek serenity. My lahui, I am a member, I'm proud to be a member of the Royal Order of Kamehameha, Chapter 3, Ka'umoli'i, and I've been serving as the Kuauhau for the Strategic Planning Committee of the royal order, the Heao Na'ali'i, for the last 2.5 years. I tell people that Maha ulepu for me is like the breakfast. The chicken is involved. Many people are involved and have an interest. The pig is committed, and I am committed. I plan to have my kino kicked out of a helicopter up on top of Haupu when I'm done with it, because I know that my marrow stays active for 400 years, and that my marrow talks to me, my history, my bones talk to me. I want them to be bathed in the light and among the breezes for 400 years, and then you can grind me up for toothpaste or whatever. But Haupu calls to me. I have the papers here from the time of the Hui, Lydgate's account, from Koloa Sugar's lawsuit and against the 34 claimants of the Hui. I have proof that the road from Wele all the way to the beach is public access. I got the records out of the state archives from an 1897 case here in Kauai, where 4 members of the Hui were arrested for trespassing when they were defining the borders. Anton Krupp and the sheriff came out and arrested them for trespassing, and it was proved that the Alanui Pa'a, which ran from up Waita all the way to Haula, was public access in the time of their great-grandparents. I don't care what position I can serve in, as in the Koloa Farmers Market where I host. They say, oh man, you're the boss, you're the coordinator. I say, I'm the low man on the totem pole. I have to serve everyone, but I will do everything I can to preserve Maha ulepu and the vai, the water, the treasure, and the kalolo'i. Thank you.
Okay, in closing, Uncle Les Kultura Puli.
Listen to Adam.
Aloha ko again to all the kahus of Kauai, to all our kupuna that we call upon. Ku'una iki, una kupuna of all the mokus that we have lost, memorizing. All of us from all the islands. We're here on a mission, a very hard mission. We're here to listen to my brother here. Thank you so much for bringing the truth out. And brother, thank you so much for saying your mana'o. That's what it's about. That's what it's about. And so, and I thank you, Mamo Ali, Okaiki. So I just wanted to say, kokua, the mana'o that's going to be shared, we need that. Everybody repeat after me before we pull it. Repeat after me. Say, nui. Nui. Nui, we gotta be aggressive. Yeah, how want you to go? Nui. When you go nui, that's the tongue, eh? Nui. When you nui something. Nalima. Repeat after me. Miki.
Miki.
Hold the attention. Hold the attention of all the Leo, the voices from brother folks. Nalima. Nui. Miki. Repeat after me. Loa.
Loa.
Go the distance. We've been lazy. All of us, go the distance. Lord, repeat after me. Pili.
Pili.
Cling to the things that we need to be clinging to before we lose them. Cling. It's like samurai. When they go, they don't hold the whole hand. This finger is the one slide the sword. Repeat after me. Iki.
Iki.
go between the cracks. Find out all of them are now. Get our people hurt. Thank you, brother. Thank you. For all us. Thank Kauai for letting us guys come here. Thank you, Uncle Tommy, for being aggressive. Thank you for being intelligent thinkers. That's our kupuna. Mo'olelo, we know. Thank you. But I'm going to tell you, now, since you've been telling Moku how, there's more that you need to know.
Well, I am here to learn,
Good.
and I
Good.
learn by sharing.
Yeah, sure. So we're going to sit down,
Right.
and then we're going to pull it. Come, everybody, just stand up and touch each other. And all the brothers by the door, thank you. Could I have the Connie and the Vahini of this holly come forward? Anel?
I need you,
Aline?
I see Jay and Eileen.
Aline and Jay?
Jay's right here. Eileen.
Eileen?
Eileen.
Where is Eileen?
He's coming.
Eileen.
Eileen.
My. We thank both of you for letting this house be a place of peace. Everybody repeat after me. Pono.
Pono.
Pono is good to be, but hard to do. Repeat after me. Ho'opono.
Ho'opono.
Oh, you're going to be real good. Now you're going to be more better. You're like be too perfect. You've been there. Now when we go too perfect, now we're getting smashed up. Say ho'oponopono. Ho'oponopono. Because we go off the trail. Because we go so pono, then we go ho'opono, now we're going to fall off the trail. Maikai. Now to make ho'oponopono in line, enough of ho'oponopono. Repeat after me. Ho'oponopono, apono the ho'oponopono.
Ho'oponopono, apono. Ika ho'oponopono. Right? Follow me?
No. Now when you go ho'oponopono apono, i ho'oponopono say ho'oponopono apono ia apono. Ho'oponopono ia apono. So now what it is, you have 5 hands with kava. Thank you for this house.
Our pleasure.
So when we go, we take our opala out. If we brought them inside, forgive us. We ate your food. We thank you for opening your rooms, your hallelujah, your kitchen, your food, both of you. Because from today on, now we like to grow. Take them out to our community here in this Ahupua. Pulikako, let us pray. Okay, mahalo no ilo, as we go back to our respective places, to our kupuna, our children, grandchildren, our husbands, our wives, our community, our neighbors. We thank you for this meeting, very small, but this is what we're going aha, or we're going aha each other. Yeah? And so we need to moku each other, bring our love back again. Thank you, Uncle Tommy. Thank you, Billy.
Thank you.
And thank you, Ted, for all the work that we did and brought up behind there, Yamanao. And all the hunters and the Maha, the fishers that heard came through. We need you folks' help. Mana. And thank you, Ali Moko. Okay, Maikai. And with this prayer we say, God bless us, protect us as we go home, keep us safe. Holy Makahiki Ho, thank you for all these trying times as we're going through this huli throughout the world, the weather, the ice, the kohola, the mano, the ia, the ball fish. Hey, 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 come, watch that ball. Hey, 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 hey. The manini, the ohua, the opelo, bring them back abundant again. Okay, cool. If not, then we have lost our kuleana. Kauai, you first take care of this moku, because Maui getting bust up. You first help each other and pull it for each other for health, safety. In the name we pray, Aloha ia mai o koa pao e kako, Jesus Christo. And everybody will say, hey, hey, hey.
Hey, hey, hey.
Now repeat after me, say la'a.
La'a.
La'a. Honor people, places, and things. La'a. Repeat after me, ma'a. Familiarize ourselves with each other, people, places, and things. Now say pa'a. Before we pa'a, we got a lot of ma'a, and then we can pa'a each other. Okay? Maikai. Yeah? Everybody say amen. Amen. Now we can go eat. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.